So a quick reminder of the way you have it fire regularly. In the create event, you have it set an alarm. When the alarm goes off, you reset the alarm and fire whatever projectiles you're going to have. I'm going to have this guy fire relatively quickly, so maybe every half second, so 15 steps, because 30 is 1 second. When that alarm 0 goes off, alarm 0, I'm going to reset the alarm, and then I'm going to fire. I think this guy's going to fire 2 sets of bullets going down. So I'm going to create an E bullet. X and Y is the nose of the plane. I'd actually like to make bullets just to the left of that and to the right of that. So I think I'm going to do X minus 15, create a E bullet that is 15 pixels to the left of the nose of the plane, speed of 10, and then down the screen is 270. 0's right, 90's up, 180's left, 270 is down. Then I'm going to create another one of these E bullets that's at X plus 15, so it creates it to the right of the nose of the plane. I'm just going to copy and paste it, and then just do a change, which is X plus 15. You could just drag in another one to do that. So X plus 15, X minus 15. I like it. Sounds good to me. All right, so that allows him to continue firing. Now, I need to figure out what the trigger is that changes him into the second behavior. So he's in the boss path state for a while, where he's firing down and following his path. Once he reaches the end of his path, that's my trigger, which changes him into the one which is the boss homing. So let me create the boss homing object so that I can change into him. He's going to have the same sprite. And the trigger for boss path to change into boss homing is when he reaches the end of the path. That's under other, end of path. Once that happens, this guy is going to change into boss homing. So he's going to change himself into boss homing. And yes, indeed, he is going to fire some events. Because he's on a path, I have to do one more step, which is before he changes into boss homing, I need to end his path. Anytime you're on a path and you want to change into a different object or change the way somebody moves, you have to end the path. Paths do not play nice with any other kind of movement, so I have to make sure they're done before I do any changes. Speaking of which, boss homing, what are you going to do with your day? So I'm going to have him fire these homing bullets that I created last time. So that's going to be an alarm event as well. So I think I'm going to have him fire these every second. So I'm going to set alarm 0 to 30. When alarm 0 counts down to 0, so it starts at 30, 29, 28, 27, it counts down to 0. I'm going to reset to 30 and create a homing bullet at my X and my Y. This is exactly the same as if I say self.x and self.y. So those are exactly the same as if you just say X and Y. It assumes that you're talking about yourself if you don't specify. Now, there might be a problem. It may be that my dear old boss homing has just blown my plane away and I'm exploding in spectacular fashion, which means my plane doesn't exist. And as soon as I create a homing bullet, it's going to look for my plane, and that's bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that there is a my plane object in the room. So if the number of my planes is 1, then I'm allowed to create a homing missile. That'll make sure that I don't get an error in case I'm not there. So if I run this, this is boss path. He's firing nasty bullets at me. All right, now he's firing homing bullets at me because he just changed into boss homing. Awesome. Okay, so boss homing, has a grand old time firing homing bullets at me. What is the trigger for him to change back into boss path? I think I'm going to make it so that the trigger is going to be 5 seconds. I'm going to change back into the boss path. Now I've already got alarm 0 running, but I would like to set another alarm, which after 5 seconds changes him into boss path. That's why there are multiple alarms, so you can have different timing. So I'm going to set this guy to be alarm 1 and set that to be 150. So it's a different alarm. By the way, you may remember that enemy 1 and enemy 2 also use alarm 0. Alarms, it turns out, are local variables, so every new object gets its own set of alarms. So if I use alarm 0 here, it doesn't step on anything going on in enemy 1 or enemy 2. So alarm 1 is set to 150. When alarm 1 fires, so this event here, I'm going to change myself into boss path. And yes, indeed, I want to perform events. So firing E bullets, this is boss path. It's a good thing I haven't put in collisions with my plane or I'd be a dead man. Firing some homing bullets, and back on the path again. Outstanding. So you could pretty easily put more behaviors in. So let's say I have yet another boss that I call like boss crazy path or something like that. I create some giant loop-to-loop. And instead of just changing into boss path here, I could have it perhaps use this test chance and randomly pick whether it changes from into the regular boss path or boss crazy path. And then I would just need to figure out the crazy path's triggers, which change him back into the other ones. And you could create as many behaviors as you wanted. You could use random numbers. You could create a longer sequence of actions. Maybe there's 5 or 6 different behaviors he does in a row. As long as you figure out what behavior you want while he's running and what the trigger is that changes him into other versions, you could do all sorts of different behaviors. Okay. So one more thing I want to do with this is that I'd like to make it so that I can actually shoot dear old boss. Now, he's 2 different objects is the problem. So this trick where I do hits isn't going to work because every time I change from boss path to boss homing, it's going to reset his hits. Well, that's not cool. So what I would like is a variable that they share. So I'm actually going to create a special controller object, an invisible object, boss control. And his job is to keep track of how many times these other 2 bosses have been hit, and if they get destroyed, or if the number of boss hits is less than 1, then he should destroy them. So to begin with, in his create event, he's going to set up a variable for the 2 of them. Now, I actually want to create a variable which is kind of like lives, where the whole game shares it. So it doesn't matter if I change back and forth from path to homing. It's going to be the same variable they share for their hits. So I'm going to create a global variable by using the special word global, period, boss hits. Using this keyword global makes it so there's only one of them in the game, and everybody shares it. So maybe this guy is going to take 10 for the demo. You might want more in yours. And I don't want relative. That creates a new variable, which is global.